All right, good evening. Let me turn my speaker off. All right, let's try this again. Good evening. Welcome to the Oshtemo Charter Township November 25th regular meeting. I want to call this meeting to order, and at this time I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll move to item 3, which is remote location identification for remote attendance when permitted by statute. Trustee Cole indicated she would be joining us virtually, though I don't see her yet. So when she joins, please let us know. And Trustee Chapman had a work conflict for this evening. He may try to join as well if he is able to get some time away from his duties at the hospital. So at this time, there's no permitted members utilizing remote location identification. Next, I'll move to Township mission and core values. I invite a member of this board to share a core value.
Yeah. Core value, commitment to continuous improvement to government operations.
Thank you, Trustee Ford. Next, we have item number 5, approval of the agenda. Do I have any members of this body wishing to make changes to the agenda before you this evening?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by Trustee Ford, support by Trustee Sikora. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5 with 2 absent. I see Trustee Cole has joined us. If she raises her hand for comments, let me know.
Just for clarification on the record, though, she's not
She's
excused.
permitted.
She's permitted to participate but not vote.
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted that on the record.
Yes, that's true for Trustee Chapman as well.
Okay.
Next, we have item 6, which is our public officials and community partner updates. This is our time in the evening. If we have any members from community partner organizations, or sometimes our county commissioners here, this would be time for them to make comments to the board. Okay, seeing none, we will close item 6 and move right into our work session. This evening on the work session, we have 2 items to talk about. We're going to take them in order here. The first is to review and discuss the 2026 Oshtemo Charter Township draft budget. And I have prepared some comments for the board as far as utilizing from the discussion before we put the budget out for public comment, the changes that were made off of board discussion. So I have those ready for you here. But if you want to start with any questions first, that's fine by me.
Well, I'm not sure what your comments are.
It's okay. If I have them here, I'll just cross it out.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have questions on several things like I did last year.
Okay.
So you have to work with me here.
Fire away.
And you may have addressed those, but in your comments. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Is that you game to go to the page? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to look at packet page 7. Line 101, 00067 600, the election reimbursement.
Yes.
And that's just a question for the clerk. Is there a transit millage plan for next year, or is that just
Yes.
There is. Okay.
Yes.
But we don't have to worry about the other elections that are going to be next year?
Correct. But we will have KCTA on the ballot.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see.
I'm sorry. If you didn't hear, we will have KCTA on the ballot.
Kalamazoo County Transportation Authority.
On page 9, I just wanted to note that when Sarah, the HR director, came And for the budget adjustment for the FICA, instead it would not happen in this year's budget, she did include the FICA in this year's budget. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to make note of that. My other question, though, is about like trustees' salaries. Is that, I mean, it's kind of an assumption if we approve the salary changes, but do we not put it in the approved budget?
The salary should be in there for the trustees.
No, the salary is there, but if you raise it, because this is the same one we had last year, but aren't we
Correct.
changing the number? And it's the same for everybody.
It will cover.
It will cover.
I'm anticipating carryover in 2025 of unused funds from that same line.
Okay. On page 10, supervisor's salary, and it also goes for the clerk and the treasurer too. So those numbers changed. Could you just refresh my memory of what's included in the salaries? Because I know we moved some things to
Sure.
different departments and the way we were budgeting things.
So we'll start with the supervisor's salary. And so some positions in the township are divvied up based on responsibility to different departments. So in that salary is the supervisor and then also the operations coordinator.
And for the clerk, it would.
And then
Oh.
for the clerk,
You know.
it's partial assistant clerk and then the clerk's assistant.
The finance manager.
Oh, and in this budget, the
The
finance
finance
manager is included in that.
And then for the treasurer is myself and most of the assistant treasurer. She's split up between general fund for front desk tasks.
All right, thank you. I knew there was an explanation, but trying to figure those out.
Sure.
On page 13, under information technology, second from the bottom of the line there, Elementor Page Builder, digital bulletin board, is that the one that's out here? Or
My
oh,
pages
sorry.
aren't, is it 101?
Packet page 10, packet page 13.
Yeah.
I believe that is the software that we use for the bulletin board. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully it'll be fixed.
It is fixed.
Oh, it is fixed?
It is fixed.
Oh. I guess I thought it would be displaying better than what it is now.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, okay. That answers that question. Page 14, the 9,700 line for capital outlay, the website upgrade, what exactly is the website upgrade? Because the website isn't working very well for me.
Well, so we're in our last year of our contract with that website, and so now that'll start the conversation, where do we go from here? Do we
Okay.
do another website upgrade? This one lasted us 5 years.
Change companies.
Gotcha.
So John is tasked with researching and making a recommendation in 2026.
All right, great, it's good news. All right, where was I next here? On page 15, I was looking at the line item 95,800, education and dues,
Yep.
and I was wondering, so we put like, why wouldn't we put like clerk conferences in the clerk's department? And why wouldn't we put supervisors and and put them in those different departments?
Sure. So they're all funded out of the general fund budget, 101. So instead of, we just put everybody's education and dues that are funded out of the general fund under one GL line, instead of separating them out between the different departments. That's
Your
the,
question was why, though, and there's nothing forcing us to do it, it's just how we do it.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of seemed to, like, maybe it should be in their department for putting it that way, but anyway, we can talk about that some other time or see whether we should do something differently.
the only ones are different. So for example, education and dues for departments such as the building fund that have their own individual revenue source, their education funds will be there. Trying to think of another one, assessing, because the assessing department is covered by the administrative fees that we collect. Hers is in there, so
Okay.
fire departments in the fire department.
Thank you. On page 16, the There's the item with the trash services, well, it's increased to 80,000. And that was because we needed the extra money this year that we voted on the other day. And so that's reflecting that. Okay, just confirming that that's.
It's
I
been
know it's made it.
extremely popular. Lot of usage. It's great.
And on page 17, under legal, so I noticed that there's no salary line there, and I wonder if you would count how.
It's split out between
how
all
they
the-
got
Just
total
like,
funds.
so Jim tracks his time, and at budget season, he provides a percentage of the amount of time that he spends on various departments. And then we place those salary allocations into those departments.
Okay. All right, thank you. So on page 19, and if this is a similar in some other two other departments, there's an assessing vehicle for $40,000. And that was one that we talked about in an earlier meeting. Is there any plans, we also had a discussion about developing an EV plan for us, and we have the vehicles here. Is the plan anywhere? Or are we?
That's part of my update
Oh.
to share with you.
Okay, I'll leave that to you then. Let's see.
It doesn't look like your meeting is showing online. I don't know if somebody can double check that.
Thank you.
So in the case of the planning department, on page 28, the salary number is increased, so it's the same thing, getting the attorney's fees added and things like that.
Can you pause your
Oh,
question
I'm
for
sorry.
1 second? We've got it at IT. We're not sure we're showing online. Is it the PMN stream or is it the Facebook stream?
I didn't know we were on Facebook.
He needs like 5 minutes to get us back online. Yeah.
I don't know, that's why.
All right. We'll call this meeting back to order. At this time, we will resume trustee Sikора's questions regarding the 2026 recommended budget.
Okay, trying to look at some of these, I think, like page 28, I think planning department is the same way with the large increase in salaries. Is that the divvying up of
Oh, yeah,
additional
yes.
legal?
That is, oh, yeah, that's the planning director, 2 zoning administrators.
Yeah, not legal though, not in this one.
Oh, not in this,
Yeah, no, yes.
Oh, it is legal,
Yes.
isn't it? Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
and so is the,
what else?
part of the operations coordinator salary, and so is, I believe, the person who takes our minutes at planning and zoning.
Okay. Yeah, I was just comparing it to last year's to see what was changed. That's where I keep coming up with some of these. Thank you. Let's see, on page 31, on the parks, we had, the Parks Committee had actually talked about this. We wanted to include additional funding for, intern for next year. And I think that should be in the salary department. And I remember we were talking about that line item on page 32, 97,400, there's a line item for FBRT fencing, and I understand that we didn't need that full amount there.
I have answers for you on that.
Okay, and I was thinking that we should put it in the salaries, like $6,000, move it over there.
So, do you want me to answer this question directly?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
okay, so, just as a reminder for the rest of the board, there was a conversation about bringing on a consultant to do social media specifically for our parks and Friends of the Parks. And at that time, I presented to the board a share in that expense between Friends of the Parks and the Township, and received correspondence back from Friends of the Park that they asked the Township to bear the full cost of that, which is an additional $5,000. So what will happen is we anticipate that the fencing project will come in under budget. And so first, what will come to the board, I anticipate in January, is a job description and a budget amendment to transfer those funds from the fencing project into the salaries. And also, after conversation with our HR director, and with some guidance from our insurance agent, it cannot be a consultant, pardon me, and so it will be in the salary line.
Okay. All right, I look forward to that. Thank you. On page 37, I don't know how to put it simpler. I don't understand what's on this page. There's one is $5,000. Is it going from somewhere to somewhere, or what's it for? And then the $5,500.
Oh, it's a general fund transfer we put $5,000 in the cemetery trust fund.
Okay.
So that page got split apart.
All right.
So if you go to page 36, you'll see it's the cemetery trust fund. You'll see the interest anticipated to earn from that fund, and then we do a general fund transfer every year to that fund.
Okay. So that's the $5,000, and then how does it become $5,500? Is that the same?
interest earned.
The interest
Oh,
earned.
the interest amount, okay. I'm just making this note. Sorry, it just sticks out, I catch it, and I want to ask about it. So on page 39, under Public Works, so we have salaries in clerical, which would be an unbelievably low number. And I wonder if you could speak to how we are funding the wonderful employees that we have in the Public Works Department.
Sure.
'Cause I hope we're paying way more than that.
So the Public Works Department and their team are funded out of the General Fund 101 budget in portion. They're funded out of the 204 fund, which I believe is our road maintenance fund. They're funded in part out of the sewer fund, and they're funded in part out of the water fund.
Okay.
So they're distributed, and again, the same methodology applies, that the percentage that they're spending on time on various projects is charged to those funds.
Okay, thank you. I figured there was some way that it was being split up. It's just not obvious to me, on there. Let's see. Also on page 39, the down under the 82-100 line, the Act 51 Planning and Urban Road Advocacy Group. I know we talked about this in the past, and I'm wondering if we're making any progress towards that, because especially now that we have that grant from the county and new sports authority, and maybe we could get maybe the city go in with the city. I'm sorry, we're on page 39, same page.
Yep.
With the city's involvement, maybe we can share some of the the Act 51 stuff to get better funding source. Just wondering where we're at with
So
that.
there have been conversations around Act 51, but there's been no investment in hiring anyone to do any work with that. I think if we get to a place where we feel like it's time to sort of invest in, forming an alliance, perhaps with other townships that are in the same position that we are, bumping up against some of the restrictions, particularly around the control of our roads, and then that would be the time. But I think it's a placeholder so that we don't forget that it's something we need to continue to work on, but we've not spent any money formally on that work.
Yeah, I remember initially, I think we were talking about working to get the act changed. You know, that way it kind of started down that route, and we knew that was going to be a long haul and maybe a too heavy lift. But now with these, the nice grant we received from the county and the Sports Authority going in now and all, it's all related to roads and what's going to happen there. It's kind of like, it's maybe the focus, you know, shifts a little bit from trying to change legislation, which, you know, maybe shouldn't be the focus of that anymore. More of how we're going to work with other people and how can we leverage that, and, you know, maybe get some guidance from, you know, we talked about a consultant or something who can analyze the situation and tell us how we should be going about this, and how do you make arrangements with another place, you know, be more active, because these things are happening right now.
Boy, this is such a big conversation. So I have had a conversation with a couple of our legislature leaders about the restrictiveness of Act 31 for a township of our size. We are kind of in a minority of townships that have as many people that we do. I mean, there's like, what, 1,400 townships, and we're in the top 100 for the size of our townships. So there's not a whole lot of juice at the MTA level to take this on. So then we got to come at it, Michigan Township Association. So then you got to figure out what other pathways. I mean, so even though, so the partnership and the grant that we'll discuss later, I mean, these are definitely some positive steps forward, but we still are kind of more, we don't have any jurisdiction over what's going to be built, and that for us is what becomes problematic. So we can be a partner at the table and have the right professionals and apply for grants to do this outside work, but we're not the deciders in the end. We are a voice, but MDOT, the Road Commission, have, in the city of Kalamazoo, which is their own Act 51, so being at the table is important, but it doesn't solve all of our problems. When it comes to the kind of autonomy that we have as a township to build the kind of roads that we envision, particularly, I think, when we talk, I believe at the December 9th meeting, we're going to see the Complete Streets Plan, and we need either we need some jurisdictional change from the state level, or, you know, policy change from the Road Commission, where they allow for different types of road design that are more in line with the more heavily dense areas of our township.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree with well, as I was originally saying, that we thought that this was something going to be state level. You know, that's what at least my original thought was, and I thought that's kind of what we felt like. We were going to pursue something at the state level, you know, knowing it was long term. But I'm kind of thinking of what do we do local level, including dealing with the Road Commission, dealing with MDOT, and can we find in the city, and maybe getting a partnership there and ignoring the bigger Act 51
Sure.
thing, but
No, and
investigate ways. And I don't know that we can do that on our own. That's why I'm kind of going like, is
Well,
5,000 enough for us to really investigate that? Or do we need to hire a professional to do that sort of thing?
So if you remember, that actually in 2025 in the draft budget had a larger number in it originally. And I remember we had board discussion about whether or not that should be in there at all. And then so we reduced the level and put it in the budget. So kind of forming strategic partnerships with our neighbors who also don't have jurisdictional control over their roads is an option. I am aware that some of our neighboring townships feel the frustration regarding what's being asked when it talks about building roads. I mean, the changes that this township needs is really around, creating the kinds of neighborhoods that we want and slowing down traffic and neighboring. Is that Kalamazoo Township's difficulty, with the control over their roads? Is that Texas Township's difficulty? Is it Cooper Town? So, yes, having conversations and forming sort of a partnership to see if, and then take that to the road commission and see if they would be willing to take a look at some of their policies. Would I like to see it done in more of a partnership than than ending up in court or trying to lobby in Lansing to get the Act 51 law changed? Yeah, that would be, my preferred method. I'm just, I think we need to explore all avenues.
Yeah, not to belabor it too much, because I think you're answering a question that's different than what I was really proposing.
Okay.
And that's that, yes, we need to do those things, but we're not doing them and we don't know how to do some of those. I'm not talking about the state level things, but are there possibilities, are there ways to work with other local entities and the road commission and all that stuff, and how would we do that? So my thought was, if we had a professional who could analyze that for us and tell us and give us a roadmap or whatever, and investigate what has been done, what can you do, what can't you do? Because we want to do something, but I'm not sure that we're in a position to know what we can do and know what the possibilities are and see what can happen. But we can find a professional who knows that and, can guide us.
Sure, so.
I mean, it's a long discussion for the $5,000, but, I was for the
Right.
higher number in the first place.
So we've had, as a part of our comprehensive master plan work, and then particularly around the complete streets plan, the differences between what's allowed our progressive A&E partners that do that work with us. I think they have the level of expertise to help pull some of those things together. As far as looking at it bigger picture, I think maybe is what you're asking. We just haven't gone down that road yet.
Okay. I'd like to see us go down that road. No pun intended or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Unintended.
I didn't get that. I
No, we
mean,
need
it
a
took
little-
me a second.
We need a little levity here. Okay. Page 40 then, I noticed the 8th Street Survey and Design is on there. I'm glad to see that. As I drive down 8th Street regularly, and I know that a lot of development is going to be based or coming off of 8th Street. That's glad that money is in there. And I think that's only part of the money. I think there's more money in another budget line for the 8th Street.
Where am I?
She's nodding yes.
She's nodding yes. Okay, good. So I'm glad that we're moving forward on that. On page 56, I guess, I'm going to hopefully be done soon.
All right, this is what this time is
Times
for.
right.
On page 56, the grounds maintenance equipment, $10,000.
Hold on just a second.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay, I'm just, yes, replacement of John Deere tractor.
So what is, I'm not connecting this to, is this a maintenance $10,000 or is this from someone, a different fund?
Oh,
That's where I
so
kinda get
this is
lost.
another large piece of equipment because that, the expense serves the Parks Department, the Fire Department, and cemeteries, buildings, and grounds. The cost of that tractor is spread between those, at least those three funds.
Okay.
I
Usually
believe
we
it's
put in the blue line the percentage, and I
Yeah.
think that's just missing this
missing,
time.
yeah.
Okay. So the 10,000 is total?
No.
No, this is just
That's
the
fire
maintenance
department's
department?
portion.
This is fire department? Okay.
It's probably,
I think it's 50,000
Alright.
actually,
Well,
if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
no,
but
that's okay.
I'll
I
have to
didn't know
track
what
it
the
down.
Department 338 and what maintenance and how we got there. I just wrote on my screen. Okay, thank you. That explains that. And one, I think, one last, well, maybe it's the last question, page 59. The fire capital,
Hold on, let me catch up to you. Yes.
the current property tax levy is lower than it was last year. Was that related to that split of
That is
80/20?
correct.
That we
That is
discussed at the last meeting? Okay, thank you. Explains that. And from, and maybe you're going to touch on these, the things that were in your email, the list that you sent us to the previous one, were you going to, was there any decision about the part-time legal administrative position of the building department administrator? Are you going to talk about
Yep,
that?
I'm gonna talk about
Super,
those.
super, thank you. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Neil. Are there any other questions from board members? And I see trustee Cole is online regarding any details. I think we can go back and add those percentages so that it's a little clearer in the blue line. And I'm going to put tractor on my note, but there might be others. So, as you all remember, we had the long conversation, I believe it was our October 9th. Wait, before Zach, do you have any questions? Trustee Ford, Treasurer Bushka, Clerk Farmer? Trustee Cole? If so, raise your hand. Okay. Then I'll go on with the updates from the items that were discussed at the board meeting that needed board input before they were put in the budget, which is this lovely thing right here in front of me that I keep looking for. So these are the reports I have back to the board regarding those items we discussed. First of all, there were adjustments. If you go to the general fund revenue, particularly to the statutory revenue and the constitutional revenue, the state budget wasn't completed before we did our budget. And so those numbers have been adjusted to reflect what the state budget. I checked MTA, and then I believe, Claire, you pulled the information from somewhere else.
Actual state.
Oh, so I took what Claire provided. Overall, we saw a reduction of about 1.9% in total, loss of $51,000. For staffing, the part-time legal assistant at 20 hours a week is in the budget, and the 32-hour-a-week building department administrative position is in this budget. Vehicles, we had a long conversation about vehicles. And so at that time, the board agreed that in this budget, you will find a vehicle for the Public Works Department. Oh, and I did actually, Operations Coordinator and I went through this. The Public Works vehicle is allocated across the road fund, the sewer fund, and water funds. There's a vehicle for the assessing department that is in the assessing budget. There's a vehicle for the maintenance department. 75% is allocated to cemetery buildings and grounds, and 25% to the fire department. And then there's the fire department pickup truck, which is in fire fund in 211 for $85,000. The board discussion at that time also included a replacement vehicle for the chief, and originally the chief had put a full electric vehicle in the budget. Then we had the conversation around vehicles in total. The agreement, or the conclusion is that we would pull the chief's vehicle out of this budget, and if it became time that he was in need of a vehicle, it would come to the board as a budget amendment. And before moving forward with purchasing any vehicles, we would look for a professional to provide some guidance on whether we want hybrid vehicles, full electric vehicles, and all those things. So while those purchases, those capital purchases are in the budget, there's work to be done before we move forward on those. For public safety, the board agreed to move forward with funding the detective and the 2 community policing officers. My estimate at that time was approximately $300,000. Our contract with the sheriff's office for our policing is currently still in negotiations, and so at this time, I'm going to recommend that we stick with that number of $300,000, but the police contract may come to you at the December 9th meeting or as late as the December, what's 9 and 14, 23rd meeting. So that conversation is still going on. There were significant changes in the contract, enough to cause me pause. So more information coming on that. Also found in this budget is a new speed trailer, and the cost of that is split between Public Works Road Fund and the police contract. The township has its own speed trailer, and our ordinance enforcement officer went the 100 miles to try to get that thing properly repaired, but it's an older model. It was purchased kind of as an already used and is not repairable for particularly what we need, our Public Works Department. Part of the reason that you see that in the Public Works Department is speed trailers can do more data collection than just registering speed when somebody drives by. So hopefully if we are able to complete our budget work this evening, I would like to see that speed trailer purchased ASAP. The one we have currently is not really functioning, and I believe the sheriff's department, a lot of their speed trailers are down. So when we need extras, we rely on the sheriff's department to bring others out to the township, but I think they're low on stock on those as well. Other items that are included in this budget that we discussed at that meeting are the $15,000 grant match for the Drake House kitchen renovation, as well as the county early voting agreement for $48,000. We also is the Township General Fund contribution to the Oshtemo Park and Recs Fund at the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. We increased, after discussion, the general fund contribution for our Parks Department was increased from $250,000 to $400,000. The dependent care reimbursement benefit was included in the employee benefit package. And also included in this budget, which will come back to us with more information in the future, is the operations coordinator is working on, along with other colleagues, I believe, but doing some research about can we do a yard waste pickup. So more to come on that. Let's see. So those are some of those things. Some things to be thinking about in the future for 2026 regarding our budget. I already mentioned the new vehicle for the fire chief. We'll make that decision, I think, when we have that overall discussion about the types of vehicles we want. Something else that we need to investigate in 2026, we have our media and communications manager, who's really doing a great job. I think we've seen a lot more activity. And we have our IT director who, does kind of the, I don't want to say nuts and bolts of IT, but, the IT engineering needs that we have. But what we really are lacking is web development. And so that's at web maintenance and all that stuff. So it is something that we're going to need to discuss, whether we baby step it into it in '26. And I think we'll know more once we make a decision about what we're going to do about the website moving forward. We talked about the electric vehicle charging infrastructure. With regard to the tree lighting ceremony plan. So we started an internal work group, and we will bring some recommendations to you forward. And the work of that committee right now is going to other communities, to their tree lighting ceremonies, and just like seeing what's happening and what might work for us, so more on that. We talked about the police protection contract already. And we talked about the social media community cultivator, I don't know what to call that position, but we'll get there. We've already talked about that, making that change in 2026. Items that the board did not want to move forward on. We did not include the SMS resident texting program. The board wanted more information about what that would look like, so that was not included in the budget. The project management software for planning and public works is not included in the budget. There is work going on internally investigating what we already have before we move forward with deciding if we need a different platform. And the employee long-term care insurance, that actually was not, or that was struck from the employee benefits plan, but it is still listed in the blue line budget, so I will be making that adjustment and taking those funds out. And so I guess that's what I have to update you. Oh, the other thing that's not on this list is, there's two things. It's my fault. The first thing is the consulting for the Microsoft consulting is not included in that after board discussion. I think the board would like to see the IT director make a plan, and the other omission was the Laserfish upgrade was not included in the budget.
To go to the cloud.
To go to the cloud, correct. So that's the report I have for the board as far as the budget. I will give you another opportunity if there's any of those updates, if you have any questions on those updates or want more details.
No, I would like to thank you for that update, because I was following along with your memo and had wondered about some of the things, so thank you for going through that and providing them.
You should see my memo from the meeting because it looks like a disaster, but we got through it. Okay, so we have some work in front of us tonight that's related to the budget, which is why I wanted to spend time in the work session to go through that. Tonight is the night for the public hearings and the resolution that would allow us to move forward with this 2026 budget. We have, we have the public hearing for the special assessment for fire and safety districts numbers 1 and 2 levy. We have the public hearing for the road maintenance and improvement levy. We have the public hearing special assessment for the police protection districts 2004-1 and 2009-1. We have the public hearing for the general fund budget, general tax levy, the resolutions to allow for routine expenditures and purchases, and for the 2026 township officers and trustee compensation. There was something I was going to say about all those. Oh, what I wanted to remind this board, and I wanted to share with those watching online, is that for the third year in a row, none of those taxes or levies have been increased. So with that, 6:20. Are there any final questions before we move on to the next item?
Did you want to open public comment?
No, this is work session.
Okay.
Nope, we'll have time for public comment when we go through the hearings. There will be opportunity for public comment. The public hearing will, those provide for the opportunity for public comment at that time. All right, let me set this aside. So the next item on our agenda is to start a discussion. I don't know that we're going to get through a full discussion, but I do want to I want to set the table with, I think, what makes sense for the board at this time. And then begin a discussion. I think the overarching theme here is we have to, as a body, provide some direction about what we want the planning department to do. And then that's where I will start. And at this time, I'm going to ask Attorney Porter if you could help perhaps define the different roles between the Township Board and the Planning Commission. We'll start there.
Sure. Basically, the township has followed the state law with regard to the Michigan Planning Act, and you followed the state law with regard to the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. You've established a planning commission with a purpose and intent to provide you with recommendations, particularly within the realm of zoning. I think it's important that you give your planning director some, I'd call it a 10,000-foot view of what you would like the Planning Commission to do. I don't think it's appropriate for you to tell the Planning Commission exactly what you want to see in, every aspect of an ordinance, but I think it's important for you to give them some overview, some direction. But we don't want to step into their area of work. They're obligated under not only state law, but under your ordinance to work on zoning ordinances and to return a recommendation, with the understanding that you as a township board have always reserved to yourselves the final determination whether you're going to accept the recommendation, send that recommendation back, or you literally could reject that recommendation and enact an ordinance that you felt was appropriate for the township. But I think it's important to give direction without necessarily getting into the weeds of every particular aspect of an ordinance involving the focus on BES.
Thanks, Attorney Porter. I see Trustee Cole has her hand raised. Can you unmute Trustee Cole, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I wish I could be there. I'm in Florida. I want to state that I understand we are bound by the law. We are also bound by the bylaws, or whatever you want to call it, of local governance, which I'm going to be frank and say I don't even understand all of the bylaws of what we do at this low level of governance. I just hope that I'm not ever going outside of that, okay? I do my best to understand. I understand, though, at least in the way I understand it, that the Planning Commission, they give recommendations that still have to be passed by this board. Okay? I am having a hard time understanding why we are not allowed, or we're bound by whatever laws bylaws, whatever it may be, policy, procedure. Maybe it's the way it's just always been done. And we are not supposed to give our opinion because we don't want to unduly influence the Planning Commission's decision. However, we are the Township Board, and we are elected by the people to do what is in the best interest of the people. And with the information that I have, and again, maybe I'm violating some policy procedure, the way we've always done things, or bylaws, but I'm stating my opinion that I feel we are beholden to the people that elected us to do what is in the best interest, in our opinions, for the community that we serve. And I feel it's strange and inappropriate to not be able to give my opinion with the information that I have at this point and the research that I have done on my own about BESS facilities, that my opinion is we do not want them here. And again, maybe that is seen as giving my opinion as a board member that may unduly influence the Planning Commission, but I'm kind of at the point where sometimes maybe we just need to do things outside of the way we've always done them. And we need to let our community know that we stand with them when it comes to life safety issues. And right now, with the information that I have on BESS and that I have done on my own research, I am not in support of it. I welcome the process. I welcome people being brought in, experts, to give me more information. I don't know everything, and I concede to that, but I think it's important, at least for me personally, to state where I am on that opinion at this point. That's all. Sorry.
That's all right, Trustee Cole. I understand. I agree with you. It's confusing at times. Attorney Porter, do you want to respond to that question, please?
Well, yeah, no, I understand the frustration. Everybody has an opinion. It's almost like sitting as a judge. You know, ultimately, you're going to be the final judge of what's presented to you. I mean, there's plenty of case law out there about ex parte communication with Planning Commission members. There's AG opinions on supervisors not appearing before a Planning Commission to give them direction. Again, you have a citizens committee that's been established. And so that's been established under state law. And when it comes to developing a zoning ordinance, it's really not it's not under the Michigan Planning Act. It's really going to be developed under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. So that's really an ordinance process that's outlined in state law. Not only is it outlined in state law, but you as a township board, as a matter of law, have established a planning commission, you've established your zoning ordinance, and you've given that responsibility to your planning commission. Doesn't mean you're not going to have an opinion. It should mean that you're going to at least reserve a final opinion until you hear from your planning commission, because that's the process that you've enacted. My recommendation is, I've heard a lot of comments about different avenues to approach this. My recommendation is that you stick with the existing process, the process established by Michigan law under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, the process you've established by ordinance, by establishing the Planning Commission, and let the Planning Commission do its work. It's going to be open to the public. I would expect them to do what they're required to do by state law, and that is take public comment, take input, seek direction from their planning director, seek information from, if the board authorizes or the Planning Commission engages an expert to listen to whatever they have to say. But again, my recommendation is to stay with that process that's outlined in state law. The reason I say that is, if ultimately your Planning Commission comes to you with a zoning ordinance and this board ultimately adopts it, I would like it to be defendable. There are some communities that go outside of, and I think circumvent, the planning process that's established under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, and I think that puts their ordinances at risk. If I were going to challenge somebody's ordinance that didn't follow the state law or didn't follow their adopted process, I think the first attack would be to challenge the ordinance that they're operating under. So if in fact an ordinance comes to this board and it is adopted, I want it to be defendable. I want it to be defendable even if it's overridden and we go to this, have to go to the state, the MPSC. I would like to be able to say that we followed all the appropriate procedures as outlined by Michigan law for enacting the zoning ordinance. And I don't want somebody to be able to challenge that by claiming that we somehow have circumvented the established process. So my recommendation is you stick with the existing process you have. You can give, again, I recommend you give your planning director, give your planning commission some general oversight on what you want to see. I mean, you could cut to the chase and just say, as some people have recommended, we don't want an ordinance. Let it go to the state. You could say, we want a CREO, which is just, a compatible ordinance.
Can I interject, Jim? I'm sorry. This is one of the things that I value about you, is you bring that legal, like, what we are beholden to legally to the table that maybe I don't understand. The process is what it is. I'm aware of it. I feel that we should be communicating our opinions to the Planning Commission prior to them gathering the information they need, doing what they need to do, and then making a decision. We should be working collaboratively with them to let them know, in my opinion, to let them know this is where we are right now as a board. This is how we feel. This is the information we still need. Let's be collaborative instead of sitting back and saying, okay, I am completely respectful of letting the process as it stands take its place. But maybe the process as it's always been done is not the best process. So maybe we need to question that and say, we need to discuss this collaboratively with the Planning Commission instead of letting it be a separate thing and then it gets brought before us, whatever they did separately.
With all due respect, I would have to disagree. I think legally you need to follow the process. Otherwise, you're going to have an ordinance that could easily be subject to challenge, could be subject to attack, whether it's at this level or whether it's at the state level. So with all due respect, my recommendation to this board will stand as is, and that is to follow the process.
Thank you, Attorney Porter. And thank you, Trustee Cole, for your questions.
Can I interject?
Sure.
So similar to the last meeting where I think there was some confusion about what the moratorium was about, I'm getting the impression that I think there's two different things happening here, and some of them are being conflated. I don't think we should be in a position to tell the Planning Commission, we want you to do this, and give them direction, only do this. But I also see that if we give them no direction, then they may come up, that may spend a lot of time and money and energy in the planning departments coming up with something that we ultimately reject, and that's like, and then we're back to square one kind of thing. So I think that there's an ability to kind of give our own opinion of, I'm kind of leaning this way, or I think this is the way it is.
Yes.
But also that the process still has to go this way, and they can come up with something completely different based on their research.
But I guess what I'm saying is you need to let the Planning Commission do its work independently.
Yes.
Yes, everybody can express their opinion.
Yeah.
And yes, it's important that the Planning Commission have some direction. As I was speaking, I was going to try to explain that you have a lot of different options.
Yeah.
You can have, you can tell them, we're not interested in any ordinance. That's
Well,
direction.
Go ahead, Jim.
Let me finish, because I didn't get to finish last time. You could say, don't draft an ordinance at all. Draft a CREO ordinance, just follow whatever's in the state statute, but that doesn't provide any additional protections to the public. Or you could say, draft a WEO a workable ordinance, workable but incompatible, meaning hopefully there's additional protections in the community, or you could draft an unworkable ordinance. I don't think that's telling them exactly what to draft. It's giving them general direction. I've heard from Kristen, I think her comment to the Planning Commission is she's not in favor of having them here. That's fine. But to say we should change the legal process, I have to strongly disagree with that.
And that's why I think there are two different things going on there that
Correct.
you're getting confused with. One is about the process, but one is also that we can have an opinion and, say what it is and then help them decide what direction to go in, but they can still ultimately come back with something that we totally disagree with or that we agree with.
Absolutely.
So
And
that can still go forward.
And part of
They're
that
just different things.
was expressed by the board at the last meeting. I didn't think anybody up here was going, I really want one of these things. I think
No,
it's pretty,
nobody up here wants.
yeah, I think it's pretty clear. But then you have to ask what are the alternatives and what are the ramifications? And part of what you're going to hopefully ask your planning commission to do is to do more research, bring it forward. I can tell you, planning ahead with your planning director and with your supervisor, we've already reached out to try to engage an independent expert dealing with these facilities that could advise the planning commission moving forward as it works on a proposed ordinance, so that we get independent information, not information driven by the industry. Frankly, I'm sorry, I don't trust the industry to come and tell us or give us an honest description of how these things will operate, if at all, in our community. So, yeah, again, an opinion on overarching 10,000-foot level, yeah, the planning commission, your planning director needs some of that information.
So, thank you, Attorney Porter. I just, and I'm going to take a break because we're going to need to start our regular session, but we do have time. Item 17 is reserved for the second reading of the moratorium ordinance, so we can have some more conversation. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the options kind of, as far as providing direction for the planning director, is that Oshtemo stays silent on the ordinance. And that means that we do nothing and the developer goes right to the MPSC. Aside from that, we have options to draft an ordinance. And there's the CREO, which is the Compatible Renewable Energy Ordinance, which follows the guidelines that are provided in Public Act 233. We have a Workable Incompatible Ordinance. That's where we dig in and we look at what's provided in Public Act 233 and, it has to be so far away from a school, or it has to be so far away from from households or setbacks or berming or all those other things. So we can write an ordinance, but challenge the developer in other ways with our zoning tools. And then we can do an unworkable ordinance and write an ordinance in a way that it would, I think, send a message that we would make it even more challenging to develop here. And so those are the things that, those are kind of that's the kind of information that the planning director needs so that the planning commission can take up the work. And I think we can finish that conversation later in the meeting. I just want to call to your attention before we break that provided to you at the dais this evening, and we made some comments for the, not comments, some copies for the public. Our meeting communications manager, Rich, has been working on creating these images that kind of try to help walk people through the process for each of these different options that are available. And there is a website that I believe the legal department put finalize on it today. Not a website, there are web pages that are going up on our website that will begin to provide information out to the public so that we can point people that direction as well. And it, yeah, Attorney Porter, were you going to say something? No. No? Okay. So you might be able to use these to, you know, help inform while you're thinking during our break before we have our discussion later. So at this time, it's 6:42. I'm going to adjourn our meeting for a break and a leg stretch. Let's reconvene at, shall we say 6:55? That gives people 10 minutes to use the restroom and get a drink of water. And so at this time, we are adjourned. All right, it's 6:55. Rich, are you and Kenji ready to go? All right, we'll call this meeting back to order, and I would like to make a motion as we go back into regular session to move item 17 under item 9, the consent agenda. So move item 17, second reading regarding moratorium ordinance on commercial energy storage facilities. Move that up immediately following the consent agenda.
That makes sense. I'll support that motion.
I have a motion by Bell, support by Ford. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Next, we have item number 8, which is public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items. Did you want to talk about item 17? Who are you referring to? Your hand. Why don't you join us at the podium? It's probably the easiest.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cameron Brown, 2037 Quail Cove Drive, Kalamazoo, Oshtemo Township. Thank you for the good work you do to advance good government in our community. With all due respect to the process, and I respect the process, you are an autonomous board. You are the direct representatives of the people. You can certainly you can certainly present to the Planning Commission your list of real concerns without prejudice. You can do that, and you should. It's your obligation. People need a fair measure of advocacy. Public Act 233 seems, in my opinion, my humble opinion, biased to the developer, not the rural voting residents. And forgive a personal admission, I've sponsored many, many public acts and had the opportunity to advance them in the 12 years I served in the Michigan legislature. I do know somewhat of what I'm talking about. And some questions. Will any future meetings with developers be open to the public with due notice? A question. What has been the performance experience with these operations in California, New York, and Arizona? What has been your due diligence in this regard? Have you contacted communities in these and other states where these businesses have been cited? If so, what have you found out? What have you discovered? At the end of the day, is this a compatible land use, a compatible, safe land use for our rural township? The people need an advocate, and we're counting on you to have that advocacy on our behalf. Thank you very much.
Again, this is time for public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items.
You can speak. You're fine.
I'll be short. Gary DeBryan, Oshtemo Township. I'm not bound by any process. So Jody, we don't want the large-scale battery storage system in Oshtemo, and the board agrees with that. Thanks.
My name is Katie Schneider. I am an Oshtemo resident, a farmer, and a business owner. I apologize, I didn't really write a formal speech tonight or a presentation. I've been busy in and out of meetings and phone calls, and frankly more than I have been in the last 5 years of my life. I've spoken with senators, representatives, leaders from all over Oshtemo, and all have weighed in on our best and how it's being handled. The echo is the importance of getting everything right, getting the ordinance to protect the residents. And there's a bit of a gasp when they ask about our planning director working with an ordinance to work on that with the developer herself. Something so far only our Oshtemo supervisor has said is normal. I sat through Comstock's 260-page energy ordinance meeting the other night. I had to quickly turn and burn and finish that when some board members failed them. I've also sat through our 200-page master plan, which seems much more important to our board, spending years working on that. No one can figure out why so much has gone into that and the $20,000 a month plus sometimes $30,000 a month we've been spending on that. I know Bess is on the schedule later, and myself and others hope that that includes a motion to form an interjurisdictional committee. Some members have already hinted at that tonight, and it is something that would be called by our township board, and that would include township board members, planning commission members, and several experts throughout the community. This is what Comstock did, and they did quite well with that, calling in many, many professionals to come in and work on that for over a year. Frankly, no township is ready to draft an ordinance as detailed as the MPSC's application. That application calls in dozens of other organizations that specialize in all areas affected by BESS. The developer already stated they don't plan to put in an application with Oshtemo immediately, probably till later next year. So why not take that year to do the work? And actually, considering that New Edge has withdrawn their application from the MISO, Mid-Continent Independent System Operator queue last month, we actually should use the 2 to 3 years it takes to start to move through that queue again to work through the 90-page MPSC application in committee to form a better ordinance, to not rush through it, to not think that our hands are so tied by 233 that we can't do right by residents. And as Comstock discovered while keeping their eye on batteries, they also discovered they have an industrial solar farm coming in as well. If our board is not willing to follow the careful process of drafting an ordinance over the next 1, 2, maybe even 3 years you have, and be willing to enforce that ordinance and stand by it, then we probably should let the developer go to the MPSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on consent or non-regular session items?
Danita DeBryan. We live on L Avenue. We have property adjoining where the BESS would be installed. I want to look at this in just a little different way, considering that that would be located next to the 30 acres of woods that we own. A fire is probably something that would be most damaging, not only from the toxic fumes, but all the damage it would do to the ground and the water. So I did a little bit of research on what happened in Arizona, in Surprise, where my sister lives, where 2 separate events happened within 3 years. I saw a presentation done by the fire chief about what happened when they went to the first one. When they drove up, there was just this low cloud on the ground. It wasn't flames like you would expect to see, and they didn't know what they were dealing with. Pretty soon, representatives from the place showed up. The system wasn't sending any signals anymore. It had not worked. So they didn't know what they were working with. And after 3 or 4 hours of trying to decide what to do, they decided they probably should go in and see if there really was a fire in there. So the fire chief led the way with men behind him carrying the water hose. When they opened the door, there was no fire inside immediately, and they stepped back to leave, and it exploded and sent him through a chain link fence 80 yards out into the Arizona desert. When his firemen, also unconscious for a bit, came to, he remembered his chief saying, if you see fire, put it out. So he saw flames, he put it out. It was his fire chief he was spraying, and he saved his life. So the chemicals before that fire were just as dangerous. They had their meters going, and the cyanide gas was off the chart. People from the company showed up with few answers of what to do, and they just said, when will we get our building back? So they decided to come up with some choices. Oh, that was on the second one. If you fast forward he was unconscious for quite a while. It took him a month to get through that and get back into service. So 3 years, 1 day short of the anniversary of the first fire, another one. The first one was a 2 megawatt. The second one was at a 10 megawatt system. That day when they were called, the same thing happened. There's this white cloud on the ground. And for the first 3 days, they just watched it. People wanted them to go in and see where's the fire. And he said, no, I'm not doing that again. We know from experience, you don't just go in, even though you see the cloud on the ground. There was a sprinkler system. It was spraying everything inside the building, and water pools and lakes were gathering outside of this building. And so people ultimately don't appreciate paying firemen to stand around for 3 days just watching a building. So higher up people told them, you have to go in. And he said, no, we won't do that. Instead, they chose to get robots to go in and open the place up. The fire department had one, and the company supplied one. The one robot took a key and opened the door. Water came rushing out. The second one jammed a board in there so the door would stay open. Fortunately, there was not an explosion. The water had kept it intact. What we want to know is if our fire department had to spend 3 days watching something like 26 times the size of those, keeping sure all of our woods don't go on fire that travel right down all the power lines to other communities and down to other housing developments, what is the rest of the community going to be covered with? How will they be kept safe when they're waiting for this thing to either blow or not blow? It's just something to think about for the future of when this happens, will we do as a whole community? When you think back when we were kids growing up, it was not unusual to see people on TV smoking all the time. Johnny Carson, all these people were smoking. We've learned that's bad for your health. Now we can't smoke in public anymore. The same thing with when we were kids. You were a little kid, you'd ride in the car, you'd sleep in the back window of the car. Or you'd lay in the back of the truck, in the truck bed and ride along. Now, we're all strapped in for safety. Kids are in car seats that actually expire after a few years. Car seats that expire. So the same thing with BES. Just because it can be built doesn't mean that it should be built. We don't have to do what can be done for people who think money-wise that would be a really good thing to do right now. So let's consider of all those facts, get people together, get committees together. How can we write an ordinance that really protects us? Thank you for your time.
I'm Bruce Goethe. As I will say again, I've said previously, I live downwind from this project. My friends are, my new friends are saying, oh yeah, you're the downwind guy. My old friends are saying, downwind, what are you downwind from? You live out in the sticks, you live out in the country, what's going on? And then I start telling them. And so we have a wonderful home. We've owned our property for 25 years now. A beautiful piece of property. We're there to take care of it during our time on Earth and our time here. We put a lot of money into it. The township assessor agrees with us. So we pay a lot of taxes. Does that make us better than anybody else here? 5 words, of course it does not. 4 words, of course it doesn't. 3 words, of course not. But we have a lot invested. And that means a lot at risk since we're downwind. So it just seems crazy to place something where it's proposed, or maybe a half mile as the crow flies, which is a farmer term. But lots of other people are downwind. Lots of other parts of our community are downwind from the prevailing winds. So yes, I thank you so much for having our backs, being on record, saying you're opposed to this. That's awesome. Let's all work together and figure out we're against it. You guys are on record as being against it. And let's figure out what to do from there. Thank you.
I'm Rodney French. I'm just sitting there experiencing this. I'm just getting tuned into this project about the battery storage. And I'm noticing from the people sitting in your audience here is if I'm any part of them in any way, what I'm feeling is fear. And I can handle myself in emergencies. I've been a business owner for 38 years, max fire protection. So I know fire. I know Class D fires. I know paraphorics. And what I know about these batteries is very little. What I do know in talking with the people in my industry is we don't know how to deal with these fires. Firefighters are staying back and still learning. So I'm glad to hear some things that what I'm understanding is the board is listening. And I encourage, especially the law side of this, you are creative masterpieces. Use your skill and knowledge to facilitate this thing, to get ahead of the game, because money's a pretty powerful thing. And I think what we have more of is heart. That's what I'm hearing here. So please use the gifts you've been given to support us in what we're going for here. And really, why I'm standing in front of you as a fire protection specialist, we don't know how to deal with these fires, guys. So, yeah, I don't know where they do belong because I know we're moving into this realm. I don't know the answer. I come to you with curiosity. I don't know the answer, but I think curiosity would be a good attitude for any of us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura. I did not make a speech for tonight. Just from what I'm hearing, we have the board talking about what can we say as far as our opinion in pressuring the Planning Commission, what can the Planning Commission bring to us? If it's not worthwhile, we're going to turn it down anyway. What I don't understand is Trustee Chapman, last meeting, had brought up the idea of a committee including some board members, maybe some Planning Commission members, maybe some residents, maybe a lot of people who can answer the questions that we have. Because like he just said, we don't know how to handle these things. We don't know how to answer all of the questions that all of us have about what is going to happen with batteries and what is going to happen to the soil and the water and all of that. We have time now to answer those questions. They've already said they're not going to apply until second half of 26, and maybe longer than that from what we have learned. So why wouldn't we create a group of people who can dedicate the time? Supervisor Bell has already said that the Planning Commission is busy. We've seen they're very busy doing a lot of other projects in planning. So I think that it would be worthwhile to have a dedicated team that can find the people who can answer those questions for us before we rush into writing any kind of ordinance. Thank you.
Okay. I'll close this option for public comment at this time. We've amended the agenda to move item 16. Oh, I did it again. Okay, first we have to go on to item number 9. So we're going to close public comment. We'll move to item 9, the consent agenda, which is the meeting minutes of the regular meeting of November 10th, 2025, the 2026 holiday schedule, the employee recognition certificate summary, and the budget amendment for bulk trash services. Is there a member of this body who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, I would take a motion.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by trustee Sikora and support by trustee Ford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Next, we've moved item 17, which is the second reading regarding the moratorium ordinance on commercial energy storage facilities. And we will move that after the consent agenda, and we will continue that discussion regarding the moratorium. So let me get my notes back out here, because I moved them. Okay, so we started the conversation in the work session about kind of what are the options that we have as a board. We talked about the options that we have to direct the planning director to move forward. You heard from Attorney Porter, pardon me. But there's I want to kick it back to Attorney Porter because we have had several conversations and particularly around the idea, Comstock formed a moratorium committee. If you haven't watched those meetings yet, I encourage you to do so. And so a moratorium committee, then we heard an idea regarding a multi-jurisdictional committee. And so those have been put in front of us, or I'm putting those in front of us for discussion. So I'm hoping Attorney Porter, you would share with the board and those here your recommendations.
I understand wanting to seek information to develop a broad base of knowledge before moving forward with drafting anything. My problem with forming a multi-jurisdictional committee or a moratorium committee is, again, I don't think it follows state statute. I don't think it follows the process. You have a process for a planning commission to evaluate and make recommendations to you. And the planning commission can do all of those things. And in fact, they're tasked with doing those things by your own ordinance. So my recommendation would be that you give them that 10,000-foot view of what you would like to see. I've heard some great ideas from a lot of citizens about different options. The Planning Commission, all their meetings are public. We've already reached out to try to start the process of having a professional expert come in just on battery energy storage systems alone to provide that expertise independent to discuss, what happens if something catches on fire? Are there better options than lithium? Are there alternatives? Are there additional safety measures that could be put in place? I think it's really important to do that. So all the things everyone's asking the committee to do, I think, needs to be done. My recommendation, though, is you stick with the process. The reason I say that, once again, is if you develop an ordinance, I want it to be as defendable, as airtight as possible. And because the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act doesn't really envision setting up these ad hoc committees, I think you follow the process, you follow what's in place, use your planning commission, use your planning director, bring in the experts, and then make sure that, and I know your planning commission will do this, make sure that you encourage them to open up those meetings to take public comment at the appropriate time, to incorporate all of that information. I happen to know that many of the people working with the Planning Commission have viewed what Comstock has done to date. They've reviewed their ordinances to date. We're not living in a silo. They are looking beyond here. Frankly, if you want to form any kind of committee, my recommendation would be you form a committee to go to the state legislature and try to repeal PA 233. But that's a whole nother issue. So my recommendation is that you stick with the process, see it through, and wait and see what the Planning Commission presents in the way of recommendation.
How quickly can the Planning Commission begin working on this?
Oh, thank you. Well, the Planning Commission is sending the draft comprehensive master plan and streets plan, why am I forgetting the name of it? The comprehensive streets plan that will be presented during our work session to the board on, the plan is December 9th. So the Planning Commission has closed its work on the comprehensive master plan, and that will be coming to the board. The next step in that process will be the board to consider opening up the draft to the public for the 63-day review period. Is that correct? Yeah. So the comprehensive master plan is moving to the board level now, which is a significant amount of work that's moving forward. So my fear was if I didn't want to try to I didn't want to try to put something in front of the Planning Commission where they felt expediency to have to try to chew something through like this. So now I think with that major project kind of moving forward in the process, I think the Planning Commission will be ready to start, we need to direct the planning director what to do. But I think the Planning Commission's plate is a little less full now.
Okay, so they might be able to begin working on it right away?
It depends on what direction we want to give them.
Well, why don't you hear from your planning director?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Jody. I'm sorry. Wasn't sure if you were.
just waiting for this direction, but since I finally have a mic on this topic, I not once worked with a developer on this ordinance. I sent them in May a draft that was published in the Planning Commission packet in February. In hindsight, I should have just said, go find it, instead of my professional courtesy of just sending them the draft. But they haven't seen, no one has seen, outside of me asking fire department for input and legal department for some input, the revisions to the draft, because it's still a working document. I haven't sent anything after May to the developer, and what I sent to the developer in May was the same version that was in the February Planning Commission packet, so it was already a public document.
Thank you for that clarification. Oh, yeah, thank you. Trustee Cole?
Yeah, hi, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I just want to respond to what Jim said, and I hope he knows that this is with the greatest amount of respect. I know what he brings to the table, to this board, and I absolutely am happy he's here, and I love getting his direction and his knowledge. I feel that this issue, and I understand he's trying to make the safety parameters, that we do everything the right way by the law. I feel like this issue is outside of the norm, is how we normally decide things. Let's be honest, it's rare that we have members of the community, even present at our meetings, much less giving us direction on how we make decisions, right? But in this case, it's different. The public is here. They're giving us their opinion. They're asking us to listen to them. And at the end of the day, our job is to represent them. Most of the time, we are guessing and doing our best to serve the community we were elected to serve. But now we have a large portion of that community telling us the direction they wish us to go. And I feel that we need to listen to that and go outside of whatever the normal process is that we do within the law, of course, and within the bylaws. But I think that, I guess I'll state for the record, I do like the idea of having the multidisciplinary team to come together, including the people that we represent that are invested in this. However, I'm going to temper that with, I would ask that people understand that we should be coming together in the spirit of collaboration. And I really appreciate and look forward to the members of the community that I serve that came to the microphone tonight and stated that they appreciated what they heard and what they understood of us, and that they look forward to working together with us. And I think the only thing I would ask is that we do this in the spirit of collaboration and not divisiveness. But I do support the idea of having a multidisciplinary team that can come together and give direction to our planning commission on this. That's all.
So I think
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand this idea of a separate committee. I'm struggling here because we have a ready-made committee with the Planning Commission. It's made up of people who live in the community, and there's a board liaison. I don't understand the multidisciplinary or multi-jurisdictional. I don't know what that means.
And maybe community, Dusty, or committee is not the right word. I guess at this point, whatever you want to call it, a meeting, a coming together, I just want something where we can all sit down together and hear each other and come up with ideas. Like, the community that is against this, they have done their research more than a lot of people, right? Because they're invested, right? Because it's going to affect them. They have information that it would be valuable to us to hear. Why wouldn't we all come together? I don't care what you call it, a meeting, a public hearing, whatever you want to call it. Why wouldn't we all come together and try to solve this problem? At the end of the day, like I said, I feel like we need to have transparency, that we represent the community, and we have a portion of the community right now that is literally in our face saying, please hear us. Why wouldn't we sit down and do some type of formal something to do that? I'm sorry. That is all that I'm asking. I'm not asking for anything formal, just something where we're all hearing each other.
And I would hope that the township board, when it gives direction to the director, would encourage our planning commission to do just that. I don't think you have to throw the planning commission out to have collaboration. I think you can have that. I've heard a lot of good ideas at the planning commission level, a lot of specific criteria that some people have mentioned. You can still follow the legal process and make sure that we ensure public comment and public input at all those planning commission meetings. And you can change the format for a planning commission meeting. You could say, well, this one's going to be an open format for dialogue. I really have faith in our planning commission that they can follow the direction of this board, and I think collaboration is a key, and I think it can be done in the context of the existing legal format.
Then that's fine. I mean, however, I guess, format it needs to come in, I think the planning commission members should be involved. I mean, it should be all of us trying to work together to figure out what we want to do, where we want to go, what direction we want to go, and the planning commission should be involved. So maybe it is a matter of just saying, let's change the way we do this particular planning commission meeting, and it's not you get 4 minutes to speak, let's make it a open dialogue situation. Yeah. I guess I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I think that would fit within the context of the law, and the letter of the law, and then the spirit of the law would be to maybe open up some of those meetings, handle them in a different fashion, and seek out all the information that's available.
I think the planning commission would really appreciate that. They feel their hands are tied with their structure of their
Yes.
meetings. So this would probably be a great opportunity to find something a little more flexible for interaction.
You could set up a round table. You could do a lot of different things and still stay within the context of the legal process.
And that is all I'm asking for, to just look outside of the way we've always done things, because that's just the way that things have been done. And maybe we need to do something different. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Cole. This is good dialogue. I mean, we have so this conversation is to feed into, to provide direction for the planning director. I think we can, we've covered what our options are. Stay silent on the ordinance, or opt to draft an ordinance. We can do a compatible ordinance, a working incompatible ordinance, or an unworkable ordinance. So the planning director started working on that ordinance in February, because at that time, knowing that the MPSC had been put in control of these facilities, was felt as if having something in place for the township made a lot of sense. Now we've learned a lot more since then. So you've revised what you published what went published in February.
many times, open it several times a week and add more information, closely followed what Comstock Township did, and when they added meaningful new provisions, I worked those in. I'm very familiar with the Comstock ordinance. It used to have wind and solar in it. I don't know why they gutted it to just address battery energy, other than that was probably their big pressure at the moment.
Can you give us some insight on, is there, I mean, there would, if the township board so desired to say, okay, planning commission, it's time for you to do your work on this with some direction.
But probably wouldn't want to finalize this working draft until we get an independent expert in on the battery energy technology to answer the questions we're not able to answer at a staff level.
I think there was a lot of other resources. I mean, there's obviously the University of Michigan resources, I don't know, I looked at the one presentation, can't remember, I think she works with the MPSC, but I wasn't exactly sure how unbiased her presentation was. I think it was more around, that presentation was around the differences between which type of ordinance you picked. I'm sure there's other ideas too. Certainly continuing to take public comment, and I, for one, don't feel it's in good form to hurry to create any ordinance, that it would be necessary to lay the groundwork with the Planning Commission to go through all of the education and steps necessary in order to make thoughtful decisions and taking public input and creating some opportunities for broader dialogue. I have thought a lot about which direction to go. I am terrified of staying silent on the ordinance, and which means not doing any kind of ordinance. I think that puts our community in the most vulnerable position. True, the company would have to go through the MPSC hoops, but I think we could end up with the worst product in that. That would be my fear. So I am somewhere between a workable, incompatible ordinance, but an unworkable ordinance kind of appeals to me, because I think if we, this board talked a lot about lithium ion the last time, and if we put restrictions in an ordinance, does that then become unworkable? I don't know the answer to that, but those are what those are the things I'm thinking about. So I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's good. I think I share a similar view as far as workable, incompatible, or unworkable. What I think should drive that is just the process of coming to the conclusion of what's an ordinance that provides us the greatest level of safety. I think that when I've been reading about this and continuing to educate myself, it's pretty clear that a lot of the biggest failures that we've seen with the dire consequences were 5-6 years ago, before NFPA 855 in UL 9540 and UL 9540A. I would like to see an ordinance that mandates what the state does, NFPA 855, and requires a developer to prove it using something like a UL 9540 or a UL 9540A, which are specific tests around thermal runaway and spacing of cells. And those UL standards are also referenced within the NFPA 855 document itself. So forgive me if this is something you've already been working on, Jody.
Well, this is, Comstock is.
Did they?
Yeah.
See, to be honest, I left Comstock's alone and I was doing my own research. So I haven't seen how they did it, but that was one of the mechanisms I had come to. So if that's what they're doing, then I think we can do a similar method. And what ends up happening if you apply those UL standards is batteries based in zinc and sodium, iron flow, much safer. They have very, very little trouble meeting that UL certification. NMC chemistry and LFP are going to have a considerably harder time. And so now it becomes an issue for the developer to decide, is that a fight they want to, is that a hurdle they want to clear with the certification requirement and or fighting with the state. But from our perspective, it does what I think is the most important, and it provides us the highest level of available safety standards on which to apply these projects. Something that didn't exist 6 years ago. And it doesn't speak to chemistry specifically, so we wouldn't be getting into picking a product for anybody. We're just talking about enforcing what the state law requires, which is NFPA 855 compliance. The developer must prove that compliance using one of these UL steps. That, I think, would fall in, maybe even into a workable ordinance. The developer would probably cry about that and try to run us to the MPSC over the certification requirement, but if you do that, you then guarantee that the installations we receive are of the highest standard to safety. I think that would be what I would start with as far as what my thoughts as a trustee to the Planning Commission might be before they embark on this. In bringing in some experts on battery chemistry, not necessarily folks that do that development work, but perhaps safety advocates, I think would be super helpful for educating what the chemistries are, what they mean, what the difference between 5 years ago and today is. And it's a lot because these things are happening rapidly and we're learning rapidly. Now that's just a long-winded way of saying I think a workable incompatible and some education at the Planning Commission level will go a really long way to getting us a good product.
Yeah, I would basically agree with
Is your,
that.
oh, sorry.
Oh, am I? Yeah, okay. I don't think doing nothing is a good response. I don't think that serves any of our concerns. I think a workable ordinance, workable incompatible ordinance is the best way to go. We can incorporate things, additional things that we think are important and make sure that they meet all these things. And then if they determine that it's not really, they're able to do that, then they could go elsewhere. But I think they'd be more willing to work with us knowing that we actually had something there and they could specifically look at and decide and comment on or whatever and see if we could come to some adjustment. But in these discussions and these comments is we seem to keep coming back to this long thing about, it should include this, and we should have that about whatever. The important thing is we need to do something. I think we all agree that we need to do something. Whether doing nothing is not an option, doing something and something important like having an ordinance, I think is where we're all trying to go. I think the workable ordinance is the best way to incorporate as many things that we want into it, and then at least we have a firm ground to stand on there. I think I would prefer that it goes through the Planning Commission and they hear our comments, but they work on this. If they want to have experts come in or have some kind of committees or whatever, I would leave that to the Planning Commission to decide if they think that's going to be useful for them, for their work, to come to some sort of resolution or information or decisions. And I would prefer to go that route, going through them. That's my comments.
I need to better understand the purpose of an unworkable ordinance. And we don't have that in this packet, but what is an unworkable ordinance and what's the benefit of it?
I think the honest answer to that is there's no benefit to it because it would just immediately push them to the MPSC.
Okay, so doing nothing and
We'd make
doing
it
too much, they go to the MPSC. Okay, then I'm in agreement that we should ask the planning commission to work on a workable and compatible ordinance. I think that provides the most benefit to the community.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we support having this. There's a lot of things we don't want. In this case, we'd prefer they maybe went somewhere else, but if we're stuck with them, at least be part of the decision to make sure it, has safety considerations like Trustee Ford said, and all these other things that he included in there. And then hopefully we'll be able to make sure that those are all followed and they don't just jump over us.
Well, and, it's interesting, we have to say that we don't support it, but if we have to do something, this is that Comstock also took a tour of a facility in Coldwater, and they were able to see, like, what it looks like with the cells that are so many feet apart or whatever, and I thought that was interesting. I would definitely be willing to do that, but again, not because I want one of these in the community, but because we need to know as much as we can about it.
I think we're all on the same page here. From a standpoint with everybody in here, it's a safety issue, right? Nobody's saying, hey, we're complaining that there's a bunch of semi-trailers in some rural property. It's a safety issue to residents, to land, to students, to schools. And so anything that says you bring it in safe or you don't bring it at all, I'm in favor of. And so that sounds like incompatible. Like, get rid of the lithium, get rid of the gases, get rid of the runoff. Sure, you can bring it.
Thanks. Trustee Cole?
Yeah, I know that I don't get to vote tonight, but I still.
This isn't a vote, Kristen. This is just of the options.
I know. I'm just saying I don't get to vote in anything tonight, and I understand that. I just want to give my opinion on this. I don't think we should make a hard decision on what we're going to do right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we just did a 1-year moratorium, which gave a statement that gives us time to figure out what we want to do. Do we want to do nothing? Do we want to create a working ordinance? Why not take that time that we've given ourselves to group together to get more information and figure out really, truly, collaboratively what is going to be the best decision, because this is happening across the nation and there is no case law. Precedent is being set right now across the country as far as how the state is handling these, given local municipalities and the public's pushback. So we are setting case law right now, so what we do matters. So I don't think that we should make any quick decisions before we come together collaboratively to learn more about what is the best route to take.
Thanks, Trustee Cole. Okay, so I think we've given the planning director enough information. That gets us to the second reading of the moratorium, which is the agenda item now. Let me get to that on my screen, I'm sorry.
Supervisor, if I could.
Yeah, thank you.
Just background for the board and maybe those in attendance. When we were working on the ordinances dealing with solar and wind, we put a very similar moratorium in place. And I know at the time we didn't have any pushback. Who knows whether we will in this case. But I think the spirit and the intent of the moratorium at that time was always interpreted to mean or envision that when we say no development, we mean we're not taking any applications, we're not considering any applications. It doesn't mean necessarily, shovel, in the ground type development. It simply means we're not going to consider any. So that's how the last moratorium was viewed. I think this one I would view similarly, that we simply aren't going to move forward on any applications until there's something in place. Sorry. I was trying to explain to the board that we had previous moratoriums like this for wind and solar, and the phrase, moratorium on the development doesn't mean, a shovel in the ground or somebody building something. It means no development. The process of development includes no applications, no consideration, no moving forward on any.
No site plan review.
No plan review, nothing of that sort under this ordinance for at least a year.
Attorney Porter, I know at the last meeting there was a question about changing the language to a moratorium on an ordinance.
That I wouldn't recommend, simply because that means that we would just be at a stalemate, basically. And even with this moratorium ordinance, I hope the board understands, the public understands, that a developer could look at this as an immediate rejection, and they could go immediately to Lansing. They have that option. So I think if you are working on an ordinance, at least if there is a developer, and we know there's one hanging out in the wind, hopefully they would wait and see what this community decides to do in the way of a draft and not rush to Lansing. I would hate to see them do that simply because we have a moratorium in place. I would like to have this community have the opportunity to draft what it thinks is the best protection, as Zach kept saying, what's the safest thing for our community? To say no movement on an ordinance, I think would really run contrary to having a moratorium that says we're having a moratorium because we're working on an ordinance. So
Also, my question to you is, moratoriums can be lifted, but moratoriums can be extended. And so I would think that if there was work going on in the Planning Commission that was related to Public Act 233 and creating some sort of WEO, that extending a moratorium would be a possibility because we could demonstrate that there's been progress.
yes, I believe you can do that. I do, again, I have to tell you, there really isn't a provision within the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act to authorize moratoriums. Many communities have done that. So whether or not the moratorium would be challenged at any time, the reason we put a year in is that's fairly customary for units to do. But could you extend it if you're making progress? Yes, I think that would be reasonable.
Okay.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
So the motion, so the first reading on this, there was maybe some confusion. We had a split vote, even though it sounds like we're all kind of thinking the same way. And I want to make sure when we're reading this now, the second reading, is this the moratorium where you say we're not accepting any applications, we're not doing any reviews? Is that what this is doing?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
We are simply not accepting or moving on any development, and that would include if somebody filed an application, it would be, I'm sorry, we're under a moratorium, we're not considering any development, and that includes everything from the start to finish. It's just, we're not going to consider it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we understood what that was because I don't think we were all understanding the last meetings.
Understood, yeah.
Thank you.
Would you say the word moratorium, though, implies that we're not going to look at anything? Because Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion, yes.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
way- And that's the way we've that's the way we interpreted it as applied to wind or solar.
Okay.
We had inquiries regarding, and we said, no, we're under moratorium. We're not considering any applications. We're not going to consider moving forward on anything at that time, so,
It's a complete and total shutdown.
yeah.
Got it.
Any, no? Okay. I saw a thumbs up from trustee Cole, so at this time, we're here for second reading on the moratorium. Do we have anyone ready to make a motion? I was going to do it after the motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the moratorium ordinance on commercial energy storage facilities.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Farmer, support by Trustee Sikora. Is there any discussion on the motion? No? This time, do any members of the public wishing to make comment on this agenda item? Yeah, please go to the podium, and you have 4 minutes.
Thank you for a second opportunity to make a comment, and I'll be very brief. Your good legal counsel made a wonderful point. I was going to kind of point in that direction earlier, and I didn't get to it. You might consider a resolution of the board calling upon the legislature to rescind this very dysfunctional, awkward piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Mike Vandenberg, and I live here in Oshtemo. It's been interesting to listen to y'all. I'm a pastor, have been for 50 years, so I've been sitting a lot of times where you're sitting and got to listen to congregations tell me what they liked and what they didn't like. That has taught me a lot over 50 years, and one of the things I appreciate our attorney's comments, but I've also learned that what the law doesn't prohibit, because the law is negative, thou shalt not. My boss taught me that. But what the law doesn't prohibit, it doesn't say that you can't do otherwise. So for the Planning Commission to draw in other experts, including the expert residents that live in that area that would be affected, should not be prohibited, just because the state says this is the ordinary way. Now, I fully agree, stay with your process. If you don't stay with your process, or you have no process, those are the two easiest times for someone from the outside to come in and just kind of take things over. I also think that you've been given an opportunity. I've heard it several times from residents, let us have a voice. Living in the community, and I've only been back in Kalamazoo for 5 years, but my ear to the ground is you all aren't their favorite people in the community. And part of that is they don't feel like you listen to them. I listened to you tonight, and I thought you were listening. I would encourage you to keep that going and give your planning director the opportunity to draw in experts from the community or outside the community and draw in some of the residents who may have some very insightful things to lend to this whole discussion and make it the strongest ordinance you can. So I would encourage you, seize this as an opportunity and don't look at it as kind of a them, us. That's probably the surest way to kill anything, is if we start fighting with each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Katie Meyer-Tepper. I think this is the third time I've spoken up on this. Last week when I spoke, or 2 weeks ago when I spoke to the commission, Planning Commission, I did talk about my history in a couple ways why it's relevant here. And if you want me to join a commission as one of the members from the public, I'd be happy to do so. I might be the only one with an environmental biology degree, so I think I would be an asset. And I'm home with my baby, and I'm eager to do something because I was a sales rep for 16 years and a damn good one, excuse my French. I was number one. So I would like to bring up, I said this before, have you guys done your homework on New Edge? Or any of you sales reps? I was a really great sales rep. I sold on safety of my drug Otezla and safety of Opzelura, safety of Frontline and HeartGuard Prevacognitive vaccines. I did it for 16 years. I don't know the history of New Edge, but what I can tell you is what I've researched. It's not good and it's not rich. New Edge, we have, I'm just going to read you a little excerpt from LinkedIn. New Edge Power, building the next generation of power. Renewable energy power generation. New York City. How many employees? 2 to 10 employees. 2 to 10. Wow. What? 2 to 10? Is this a joke? When I read that, my jaw dropped. I can't even believe we are discussing to do something as major environmentally destructive with a company that has 2 to 10 employees and how many years of history? Well, they have 0 batteries that they've put up by themselves as a company. What I found is they had 2 put up with another data system company that they piggyback on. We would be their guinea pigs. I know what sales reps do. I did it for 16 years. You look for the low-hanging fruit. You look for the people that you can get easily. This is what New Edge is doing. They are blitzing all of Michigan, and this Rachel Walker, 6 months, Jody, 6 months. That's all she has with New Edge. Really, Oshtemo? Come on. I know you guys are smart. I know you guys have heart. You said you have our back, and I heard it a few times already. I'm going to keep holding you guys to it. I'm going to come to every meeting. I have a baby at home, and I'm still here. I get babysitters. My parents are gone. I don't have grandparents' help in that sense. I'm still here. And by the way, this is in my genes. My parents shut down the KL landfill in 1976, so I will be here for the rest of my life, touching on the environmental importance. I can go on further about the history of these people, but I would like to tell you the CEO hasn't even been with it for a whole 2 years. Shocking. Why would we let this company possibly destroy the environment for generations to come? Why? Do you want your kids? Anna, do you want your kids? I don't think so. I don't want my son growing up here. If 20% of the time they blow up, are you kidding me? 1 out of 5? Those are terrible odds. And as a sales rep, that Rachel Walker, whatever her name was, I'm sorry, calling her out. She must have made this sound really good. It's not really good. It's too new, and it doesn't deserve to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Cassie Maurer. I'm an Oshtemo resident. I didn't bring anything planned to speak about, but what I'm hearing is that there's we've gotten to the loop and we haven't gotten off to the next road. And that I want to hear that you have a plan with the Planning Commission with accountable deadlines on what they're going to find out about the risks of this happening. What are the measurable risks? How can we even have a budget to cover the risks if we don't know what measurable damages are? We need to know those things. Those will help us decide if this is even something we want to consider. And then, what strategy do we want to use? I think we're way ahead of the game starting to talk about strategy already. We need to do much more research and you have a whole lot of people who have been researching here. Plus, I'm sure you, the Planning Commission, you've been doing yours too. Let's all put it together and let's have a plan right now. I want to hear the deadlines on what we're finding out in this next month, just in this next month. I want measurable results and outcomes to how the Planning Commission is going to do this work and find out what we need to know to make a real decision. Thank you.
I'm Bruce Goethe, live on M Avenue. I'm just going to piggyback a little bit on what Katie was talking about New Edge. And I'm repeating myself, but I'm really disappointed that they came in-person meeting. We had to get, somebody got Freedom of Information Act notes from the meeting, but the public was never notified about that. There's all your initials, who was there, Fire was there, Jody was there, of course. I wish she could have her mic. I wish any of you guys could respond to some of my questions, but Rachel Walker came from Minnesota. Steve, did he come from North Carolina? Donna came from Florida. I have high respect for what we're trying to do here. I have high respect for Mr. Porter's 40 years. I do not gamble, but I would make a friendly wager that the CEO is not 40 years old. He has 40 years of experience. I don't think the CEO of New Edge is 40, or maybe he's just 40. When I heard about this, again, I was embarrassed that why did I learn so late about this? Well, investigate, this is serious, this is a threat. I better tell my wife. Now she's educated. Is the CEO of New Edge, his wife, educated? Does she know what her husband's company does? Everybody, the owner of this property lives out of state, never gonna come here. The CEO, he'll probably never come to Oshtemo. So we're all here on this team, here as a team, and we're battling against out-of-towners, out-of-staters, who really don't have our backs, don't have, again, repeating myself, what we have at risk. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess all I'd like to ask is for transparency, so that we don't find out later on that something was presented to New Edge that really we don't all disagree with. We don't want to just kick this can down the road to Parkview or another street in town. Nobody deserves this. Of course, we talk about a residential area because that's where we all live with so many people, but it doesn't deserve to be here. And just because big bucks come in and want to put that here, it's a reason for us to say no. That's not representative of our community. We really would appreciate transparency and your helping and us all working together. I think we can achieve a lot more that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I know we've heard that there's some legality issues with forming a committee, and I'd like maybe for a little more research to go into that. Under MCL 41.1A in the Charter Township Act, the township does have broad authority to create advisory committees, appoint members, and direct research on ordinances. The Planning Commission would still keep control. They will deliberate over any of the research that came in, and they can still take as many meetings as they need. And all of them would get to vote on the ordinance that they craft in the end, and it would also pass to the Township Board, which would have the right to deliberate on it, redline it, send it back, and work it through as it should be. All that the committees have to do is follow OMA rules, make sure it's a public, open meeting, not a closed session. They need to avoid a quorum, and that means no more than a certain amount of members from the Township Board, no more than a certain amount of members from the Planning Commission Board can be there. Members of the public could be there. Professionals from throughout different organizations could be there. And it is legal, from what I found, unless Attorney Porter can tell us otherwise. There are dozens of organizations that a developer must pass through on an MPSC application. Why not take the time and bring them all in? We know we've got 1 to 2 years before they put an application in. They're not going to put it in before they're approved in the MISO queue. We know this. People who are doing the research know this. One expert coming in isn't going to cut it, and I can only guess what their view would be on their way in. The Planning Commission does not have the time to dig the way all of us have. This is our piece. We're the ones doing the digging on it because it's our piece. It's our neighbors. It's their animals. It's their children. It's their everything. We have the time to do the research. We do it all day long, I promise you that. Invite in the people who want to do the research, who can do the research, who have the educational backgrounds to do it, and they want to keep their neighbors safe, as they have the right to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Lundgren, Oshtemo resident. I do like the idea of a committee, but if we can't do that, I really liked the idea of an open forum with the Planning Commission where we're not restricted to 4 minutes to talk, and then we don't get that back and forth dialogue. Sometimes if we ask a question and get an answer back, that facilitates a discussion that could lead to more solutions. I would like to know, would it be appropriate to invite State Senator Sean McCann to this meeting? Representative Matt Longjohn, they're in Lansing. What about members of the MPSC? Could they come? We've been concerned that if we don't have an ordinance here that would work, this developer would go to Lansing to the MPSC and override us. Well, what if we invited them to us and try and work something that way? Just a thought.
Any other public comment on this motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second before us regarding the second reading regarding a moratorium ordinance on commercial energy storage. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5 with 2 absent.
Could we take a 5-minute break?
Oh, we certainly may. Why don't we, it's 8:10, why don't we take a 5-minute break? We'll return at 8:15. All right, we are adjourned.
I figured it would give people time to leave.
We're all back, right? Okay. Just got a really good idea for the video stuff.
For the what?
Just got a really good idea. All right, it's 8:20. Taking our little stretch break, get the blood flowing. We will call this meeting, back to order. Get the necessary documents in front of me here. Okay, next on our agenda is agenda item number 10, which is a public hearing for the special assessment for fire and safety protection, Districts 1 and District 2. This time, we will open the public hearing on item 10. If there's any members of the public wishing to speak on item 10, now would be the time to provide your statements to the board.
Yeah, this is the time and the place for anyone who wishes to protest their special assessment for fire safety, whether it's 3.75 mils levied under Fire Assessment District 1 or the 5.75 mils that will be levied under Fire and Safety Special Assessment District number 2.
Thank you, Attorney Porter. Do you have any members? We have none online. Seeing that, I will close the public hearing, and I believe we need a motion.
I move to adopt the special assessment for fire and safety protection districts number 1 and 2.
Second.
A motion by Clerk Farmer, a second by Trustee Ford. These are resolutions.
It's in a resolution form,
Clerk,
yes.
will you please read the roll?
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bell?
I vote yes as well.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Chapman and Cole absent.
Next, we have a public hearing on item number 11, the road maintenance and improvement levy. Attorney Porter?
This is a time and the place for the public to speak with regard to the proposed road maintenance and improvement district that would be a township-wide levy at 1.25 mils that would raise approximately $1,460,000.
Thank you, Attorney Porter. The public hearing is open. Do we have anyone here wishing to speak on agenda item number 11? Any members online? I will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on item 11?
Maybe. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Nope.
Item 11, the road maintenance and
Road
improvement
maintenance and
levy.
improvement.
I'll make that motion to approve the road maintenance. And
I'll
improvement.
second.
Thank you, guys.
Motion by Trustee Sikora, second by Clerk Farmer. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
No.
Oh,
Aye.
no, this is a resolution? I almost had it. It was close.
Trustees
Clerk Farmer?
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
I vote yes. Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Thank you. Next, we will move to item number 12, the public hearing, the special assessment for Police Protection Districts 2004-1 and 2009-1 levy. Attorney Porter?
Yeah, this is the time and the place for anyone who wants to make a protest to the special assessment for the Police Special Assessment Districts 2004 and Police Assessment District 2009. Levies proposed of 2.8 mils for Police Protection Special Assessment District 2004-1 and 0.67 mils for Police Assessment District 2009-1.
This time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak on item number 12? Seeing no one here with us, is there any hands online? None online?
I do
We
have
have
a question.
Oh, certainly.
No, just on, in the packet, there's September 23rd, 2025 is highlighted?
Page 97 of
I'm
the-
not sure why that,
Okay.
that's.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's a
Just that
typo
it's
in there,
issue.
as are the extra digits. We really are not going to levy 2,019,000,000. It's 2,019,000.
There's extra zeros.
Yeah,
there.
I just caught that today. You try as you may, there's always something that drives me nuts.
Do I have anyone willing to make a motion on
I
it?
will make that motion.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Sikora, support by Trustee Ford. Any discussion on the motion? This is a resolution. Clerk, will you recall the roll, please?
Give me just a second, I'm just catching up.
I know, I had to.
Trustee Cole and Chapman are absent. Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Next, we move to item number 13, which is the public hearing on the general fund budget, general tax levy. Attorney Porter?
Yeah, this is the time and the place for the board to consider the adoption of its budget and the overall levies, which would include the general operation budget at $55,664,344. Your general fund operations at $8,191,360. Budget for police at $2,019,700. The fire fund at $5,130,306. Road maintenance total of $1,788,000 or $88,000. And this would approve the general levy of 1.5 mils and raise $1.760. It's an overall approval of your budget, again, at $55,664,344.
Thank you, Attorney Porter. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone present wishing to speak to the board regarding item 13? Seeing none here. Township Hall, no hands online. Are there any questions on this item? Is that where you want?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
certainly. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I had all those pages flagged, and I missed a question on one thing, just minor thing. This is the budget, right? Yeah. Okay, so on page 66 of the budget, sorry,
That's okay.
this is economic development. The accounting and audit fees are 7,000, and last year they were 2,000, and I was just wondering, is there?
That should have been changed to 2,000. If that's still 7, that will get changed.
Okay.
Thank you. That, I swear to goodness I made that change, but let me write that down.
Yeah, if you did, it's
Well,
not on my,
it
it's
should
not on
be.
my copy.
No, I mean, it should be on there.
Okay.
Anyway, so,
Okay. I will move approval of the, where are we? General fund budget, general tax levy.
I'll second.
just a second, let me finish my note. I have a motion by trustee Sikora, a second by trustee Ford. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk Farmer, would you read the roll?
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
I vote yes. Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Thank you. Next, we have item 14, which is a resolution, the 2026 resolution expenditures and purchases. Attorney Porter, do you want to just give us?
Yeah, basically, this is a resolution to authorize those routine expenditures that have been approved in your budget, so you don't have to bring everything forward at a board meeting, and your officials that are here operating on a day-to-day basis can take care of business.
Did we have this last year too?
Yes.
Yes, it authorizes move the things forward in the
Yeah,
budget.
it's not anything new. Thank you.
Routine expenditures that are budgeted appropriations are authorized to be carried out.
That's great.
Any other questions on the resolution? Motion?
I make a motion to adopt the 2026 routine expenditures and purchases.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Farmer, support by trustee Sikora. Is there anyone present wishing to make comment on item 14? Seeing none, no hands raised, we'll close public comment. This is a resolution. Clerk Farmer, please call the roll.
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Thank you. Next, we have item 15, which is a resolution for the 2026 Township Officers and Trustee Compensation.
This is pretty straightforward, again, as part of a budgetary process and the establishment of the officer's compensation. You have a resolution in front of you that would approve the salaries for the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer, and the salaries and the per diems for the township trustees.
Any questions on this resolution?
No, but I will move to adopt the resolution regarding 2026 Township Officer Compensation as presented.
Support.
Motion by trustee Ford, support by trustee Sikora. This time, do we have any members of the public wishing to make comment on this item?
I just have a quick comment on this one. Obviously, I've been spending a lot of time at a lot of other townships lately, and many of them seeing this had a little sticker shock on this. There was a lot of questions about the raises that came through, what was it, a month and a half ago, where all of the pay scales were moved up to 100% of the pay bands by vote by this board. And so just speaking on that, it just seems crazy to be adding more on top of that. Frankly, the trustee pay already is almost 3 to 4 times that of other trustees around here. I understand Oshtemo's a little bigger than some of the townships around here. It just seems like out of line spending. So, thank you.
Thank you. Motion by, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. Yeah, no, please.
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time.
We're talking about item 15.
I had an overall budget question.
That would be public comment then. Sorry. We have a motion by trustee Ford, second by,
Neil.
thank you, trustee Sikora. I'm going to start just calling you out by your first names. I try to make it more formal, but it trips me up every time. Clerk, will you read the resolution? Or the roll call?
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to item number 16. And you all might remember, I don't remember when, but we did bring before the board we intended on submitting for part of the Kalamazoo County Community Grant Awards. And Anna, do you want to introduce this? This was, Anna brought the idea forward. And
good evening. I'm excited to bring this forward. I think the board has heard me talk a lot about, trying to be proactive instead of reactive in some of our infrastructure planning, and that's how we can provide the best value for our residents, both short and long term. And so the goal with this project and this grant is that we will look at some of the development we know is coming, that owners and developers have inquired about, and think through some of the township goals and priorities that have come out of the recent master plan and how we make sure that we can facilitate those as developments come through. So the idea is that we would do kind of some scenario planning of what if it's built out at the most density that the future land use and the zoning ordinance allow versus maybe it's 80% of that. And then we can take the industry standards for what some of the traffic generated would be and model that so that we can plan for the right road connections and we're not just dumping everything out to one road or even worse, just one intersection. And so we can be very intentional as projects come forward to make those accommodations and request those things. We do that often to make sure that the township is built in a resilient way, that the road network connects. So this is an opportunity to do this. I think it's a big step forward that I hope actually returns its investment plus some and allows us to secure more grant funds because we'll have these plans in place and have done some of the study in advance. So under the objective, the last sentence is really the motion, but we're looking for the board to accept the grant. We're anticipating that this work can all be done in 2026. Sharon's ready to get going already. If she could create a purchase order today, she probably would. And then I think the other important part to highlight is that this is a unique project that we have 3 road agencies, 2 townships, a pretty big bus stop and some of the bigger bus routes with Metro Transit. So we want to make sure that we're bringing in all the partners. So that will definitely be part of the challenge, is to make sure that we have everybody included, but it's really important to make the area successful and that we're not doing things just because you're on one side of Drake or the other. So that will be fun, if you think those things are fun.
thank you, Anna. And so actually, the turnaround time on this was pretty quick. The county administrator announced it and sent it out at a supervisor's meeting, and then I forwarded it internally. Anna forwarded an idea, and then between Public Works Planning and our operations coordinator, we were able to put the material together and also gather, I don't know, at least a half a dozen letters of support from our partners. When they heard about the idea of this, they were excited, so congratulations. So I guess we're looking for a motion to accept the money and sign the agreement.
So moved. Support.
I have a motion by trustee Ford, support by trustee Sakura. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Anna. Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Next, we'll move into item 18, which is closed session regarding written opinion of council. Did I skip something again?
No, I'm sorry, I stepped on your toes.
Oh, okay.
Just to tell you, we have a resolution to go into closed session.
Oh, good. Oh, go ahead. Do you want to read that resolution to go into closed session?
Meet with the attorney.
Microphone.
Oh, we missed the word
Sorry.
resolution.
Yeah, you have a resolution to go into closed session to consult with the attorney regarding written opinion of council.
Thank you, Attorney Porter.
I move to adopt the presented resolution regarding closed session of 11/25/2025.
Support.
Motion by trustee Ford, support by treasurer Bushka. All, clerk, will you please read the roll?
Trustee Sakura?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustees Chapman and Cole are absent. I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Chapman absent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Who seconded that motion?
Somebody knows who the motion is proceeding to closed session.
Are you guys ready for us? Okay. I move to return to open session.
Support.
I have a motion to return to open session by trustee Ford, second by treasurer Bushka. All in favor say aye.
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 Do we need to have a motion on the conversation for the direction?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Then I move to authorize the supervisor as discussed in closed session.
Support.
A motion by trustee Ford and support by treasurer Bushka. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Oh, there it is. Jeezy Pete.
I'm sorry, that was the motion by Ford and second by Bushka
Bushka?
to leave closed session?
No, I think both.
Right, when, it was the same, yeah, okay.
Next, we have item number 19, which is another opportunity for public comment. So if you have any additional public comment, now would be the time. Tried not to keep you waiting too long.
I printed the budget, and I'll admit, my first time going through a city budget, township budget. I'm not a numbers person. That was my dad. He was an accountant. But it's shocking to see these numbers. There are a lot of big numbers here, both money coming in and money being spent, a lot of money being spent. And I just want to ask, are we trying to spend all the money that we bring in? Do we have a rainy day fund for emergencies?
do we have a game plan for next year if a new governor decides no income tax? Because one of the candidates is proposing that. How does that affect the money we get from Lansing? Will we lose money there? What about Axe My Tax? It seems to be gaining momentum. What if we lose property tax? Do you have a game plan? There's a lot of money here, and should we be thinking down the road to be cutting back on expenses and not expanding and spending? Just a few thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
I will just say that we do have a board policy to have a fund balance that's between 80 and 120%. And we have met that goal this year. We're still there. So that's our rainy day fund, if you will.
80 or 20% of what? Can you explain what that means?
Of the fund balance,
Okay.
of the money that we have.
The general fund buyouts.
I'm sorry?
What would 80% cover? Sorry.
Oh, it would be about 80% of your expenditures for the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking for me. I was just wanting to
I
make sure it
got
was
you.
clear.
Right, and that policy, I think it was partially bought in place because you can't just pile up money. You have to, like, do projects and things, and so.
It is different from like the county. The county recommendation is like 20% of
It's,
their
yeah,
fund balance.
we
It's
far
totally different
exceed
from
what is
townships.
recommended for government. Yeah, the county is like 25% or
Yeah, it's
something.
much smaller than ours.
The other activity is, and I appreciate the question, when the defunding work went through Washington DC and we were looking at, so we went through that, we've gone through that activity one time already. Certainly, even at that time, we thought about constitutional and statutory revenue sharing. But if all of these happened at once, there'd be, you know, we would have about a year and a half to figure it out, so. All right, at this time, I will move on to board updates. Trustee Ford.
I wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I'll be in Detroit with Buddy. Go Lions.
Trustee Sikora?
Thank you. Oshtemo Friends of the Parks met last week. Among other things, we reviewed our recent event, made plans to build benches for the Fruit Belt Rail Trail over the winter, and discussed the volunteer recognition plans. The Parks Committee met last Wednesday, receiving updates on the Fruit Belt Rail Trail and Drake Farmstead Parks, discussed the interpretive signage for the Fruit Belt Rail Trail, and evaluated replacement options for the Flesher Field X-Wave playground structure that will be replaced in 2026. We also discussed meeting dates for 2026 and decided to meet at our parks during the warmer weather. On Friday, I joined others for our last volunteer session of the year at the Township Parks. While at Township Park, we cut back invasives around the story walk that we installed at the library and also cleared out other areas that were overgrown. The Friends of the Park then held a volunteer appreciation gathering to thank our volunteers, providing donuts and cider, along with a small gift to say thank you. And on Sunday, I attended an Oshtemo Historical Society meeting that provided an excellent review of the many activities they've done this year, and along with some many activities planned for 2026. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Treasurer Bushka?
Our tax season starts in 5 days, so that is all prepped and ready to go. I do wish also everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I do keep an eye on the Axe My Tax because that affects what I do as a career, because if it goes, then I go, right? So, but the concept behind that is there would still be a fire and police millage to cover everybody's safety aspect. And then if supposedly they're going to be allocating other taxes, so like gas tax, some would come here, they may go state sales tax, we might get a little bit of a higher proportion, things like that to kind of offset it. I don't think it fully will, but it won't just disappear. So I just kind of wanted to give you that information. I do follow it closely.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good for that update and that reminder. Is Trustee Cole still online? No? Okay. Clerk Farmer?
I just wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys out there on Saturday for Shop Small Saturday. And I have no other updates.
Thank you. I'll keep it relatively brief from the supervisor's office. Absolutely happy Thanksgiving. My youngest daughter's home from college, so I'm particularly excited. A couple of great things that have happened recently that just kind of exemplify patience and time is I was pleased to go with Attorney Porter and meet the road commissioner at the closing of the Erie Street property. And so that work is done, and Vanessa can march forward confidently. Actually, the contracts are signed. So, and another, I'm not sure if it's completely, I don't think we've closed yet, but another easement that is coming to a closure is the acquisition of Seco Drive, the easement for that connection, Seco Drive. And so, is it formally closed, or
It has not closed.
We haven't gone to title company
We
yet.
haven't, yeah, we haven't closed on it yet, but the offer's been made. It's currently sitting.
Yep.
We've got agreement
So,
signed, and it's
nice
moving
way
forward.
to close out the year. So, onward and upward, and with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.